Hey, moms, it's me, Queenie, and you are about to enjoy the Empowering Girl Mom Show. We're about to get started, so please make sure you like, subscribe, and share this with your friends so that more moms know that we are here as a resource to support all of us in up-leveling motherhood. I look forward to joining you in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey, moms, it's me, Queenie, and you are about to enjoy the Empowering Girl Mom Show. Hello, and welcome to the Empowering Girl Mom Show. I'm your host, Queenie Brown, certified master life and business coach, women's empowerment author, and a mentor to moms. And I'm so excited to invite you to join us today. Today, we are interested in helping you transform your motherhood experience, your womanhood experience, so that your relationship with your children is impacted, your relationship with yourself, most importantly, is impacted, and even your relationships outwardly, including your mother, your other children, your spouse, anyone in your life is going to be impacted by the shifts that you make and the heart healing that you decide to take steps towards. And so today we honor you for joining us, and we're excited to bring you some more juicy, yummy information from another powerful expert. So, today we're going to be talking about behavior and how we guide our behavior and our children, how we guide our children's behavior as well. Today, I want to introduce you to a dear friend and a powerful speaker. Her name is Chelsea DeSilva. She is a board certified behavior analyst with over 20 plus years experience with special needs, and she has a powerful testimony to share with you. Thank you so much for joining me, Chelsea. Welcome to the Empowering Girl Mom Show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be on here with you that you would see fit that I can share some of my knowledge and some of my experience with mamas out there, with women out there, even with you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that, and you've already made a mark in the in my life and in the lives of my daughters. We both share daughters together, and we've been learning, and I'm growing just by watching and seeing you move through motherhood. It's powerful and it's amazing, and what it's almost like you're doing magic, girl. You're making it happen, and I love it. So I wanted to bring some of the wisdom that you share within your organization because you have a company called Stepping Stones for Behavior Guidance, and you help
Mhm.
families guide their children in behaving better. Now, what mom
I
doesn't
do.
want that, right?
I'll take it. I'll take it all day.
Right, right, right. So, one of the things that we've talked about that I wanted you to bring some light to is the whole concept of parenting the parent. Can you talk to us about that?
Mhm. Absolutely. So, like you mentioned, I've been helping parents and kids for over 20 years. And within my own company, one of the reasons why I started my own company is because I would run into kiddos that we had gone through therapy with them. They would get 15, 20 hours a week of therapy. And we thought they were in a really good place, graduate them out. And then 2, 3 years, I see them at the grocery store and find out they're still having those same bad behaviors. And it started to occur to me company after company after company. I'm like, I know I'm doing my job well. I know the therapists that, we're sending out, they're doing what they're supposed to be. Why is this not sticking? What's like you said, magic? What's that ingredient that's not in there? And through research and honestly, after I had my own kids, I realized that you send your kid to be taught, they learn, but they may not generalize and bring that back home. And with our therapy sessions, kiddos are getting therapy maybe 2, 4 hours a day, but we got another 20, 22 hours a day that they're not. And so when it comes to how they're going to really behave, it's going to be whatever they're doing most of the day, right? And so bringing that knowledge and understanding to the parent, and having that parent to now create a different environment and different expectation for that child, that's where the magic is. And so I have worked and I am trained, I am educated in working with special needs kids. But like I said, I have 10, almost 11-year old, going on 18,
Right.
and an 8-year old that's also, two girls. And working through life with them and their behaviors, I realized there's so much of me that needs to change to impact what I want to see with them. And so, parenting the parent, that's my jam. I love, working with the kid, but also training the parent. It's not just your kid's fault. They're like this. You made them and you're molding them every day. A kiddo that's having some bad behavior, some naughty behavior we don't want to see, it's not just their responsibility to change. It is a lot of our responsibility to change their environment. One, so that they understand this behavior does not work for me. And two, so that they are start to learn and understand what is going to work for me.
Mhm.
So I'm excited about that. I love it.
Mhm.
I love training parents. And like you said, I'm so glad. I'm so glad to know that I had made an impact on you and helped you, even just in our friendship, right? Like I'm not even, doing my real sessions and stuff with you. But one of the things I am really big on is respectfully understanding the child's behavior. If you have a kid doing any bad thing, to a session yesterday and the kiddo, he got tired of his mom talking and he literally told her stop talking. She did not, right? And he went covered her mouth and I was like, oh my goodness. And next thing I know, he's hitting her in the stomach. And that's a pretty bad behavior, right? And we would say, wow, what's wrong with that kid? He's 9 years old. How can he behave this way? But I'm going to be really honest with you, it's the parent that is allowing that behavior.
Mhm.
And not just allowing by standing there, but if your child has very big, strong emotions, they don't know what to do with them. We have to tell them what to do with them. We can't just say, well, stop hitting, stop invading other people's personal space, because we have to respectfully understand that that child is not doing it to be naughty. They're doing it to get their needs met. And the
Mhm.
reason why they're doing that instead of, Mom, let's have a conversation. I don't prefer it when you speak this way,
Mhm.
or let me remove myself. They're doing what they've learned has worked for them and they
Mhm.
don't have better skills. So, as parents, we're responsible to look at their behavior, try to, as much as possible, take the emotion out of it, but understand this individual is doing what they're doing because it works for them and they don't have a better skill or a different, more appropriate behavior that is also going to work for them.
Mm. Wow. As you were saying that, something came to my mind, and I just think about that instance where the child is now becoming abusive to the parent, and there's
Mm-hmm.
so many parents who are afraid of their children. There are so
Mm-hmm.
many parents that don't know where to draw the line and how to set a boundary to
Yep.
really prevent that. And so what would you say to those parents who are at that place?
I would definitely say you have to first acknowledge that you have a part to play, you know? And the thing is that, like I said, I've learned so much through my own parenting. Sometimes we look at our own perspective and we know how much love and how much care and how much effort we put towards our child and getting them on the right track. But the truth is if they are not on the track we want them on, then we need to adjust how we've been doing it. It does not take away from you being an awesome, caring, loving parent, right? But if you're speaking a language they don't understand, they're never going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't expect them to learn your language. You have to learn their language and bring it to them in the way that they can, understand it and see it. And so for this particular mom, she just stood there like this was quite normal for her. I mean, I was gasped, jaw on the floor. And and I was like, wow, how often does this happen? Oh, anytime he gets upset. When does he get upset? Anytime I tell him to do something he's not, doesn't want to do.
Oh my
How
God.
often does that happen for a 9-year-old child? Right? And
Right.
so I reminded her, because she told me other family members have told her, your little 9-year-old son is going to grow up to be a 12-year-old, 16, 18-year-old man. And if he thinks it's okay to step into your personal space and be physically or verbally aggressive or whatever the behavior is, he's going to think that that's okay with friends, with strangers, with significant others,
Mm.
right? And so sometimes it's just really hard for us as parents to do what we got to do for our kids, because it's like, I don't know what else to do. But like once we have in our face this little kid, and sometimes they're 5 years old, but they're always going to grow up, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the longer they sit in that negative habit of, well, yeah, I just hit and push my mom and nothing bad happens, I'm okay with that. And then I get what I want. She backs off and gives me space.
Mm.
They're developing a habit that is going to be much harder to break. And you might feel, a lot of parents feel like, especially in special needs, a lot of times parents will kind of feel the guilt and the shame. They should not, but they feel like my child was born unfairly with this disadvantage and this diagnosis.
Mhm.
I want to give them as easy of a life as I can.
Mm.
But sometimes in trying to make everything easy for them, we're doing them the disservice of making them think that the world is going to tolerate this behavior. Now,
Mm.
the good news is that most kiddos that, like, if anybody's connecting with this, it's because your child learns differently from mainstream, right? And
Mm.
that means you have a unique, probably strong-willed, beautiful child, that God has a special purpose for. But that also means that you cannot parent the same way that everybody else parents. And
Mm.
it's your responsibility to figure out what that different way is. And there are professionals like me that, not that I have all the answers and not even that textbooks have taught me everything, but I have literally worked with thousands and thousands, thousands of kids,
Mhm.
over all these years and all these companies. And when I saw that kid, I was like, ooh, that reminds me of another kid, and this worked and that
Mm.
worked and da da da. And so in that moment, even in that moment, I was able to train the mom within 2 hours. And the kiddo went from hitting mom, literally trying to block her from saying anything, to, okay, mom, what do you want me to clean up next in my room?
Mm. Wow.
You know? And so the thing is, parent, is wherever your child is, if you give him a better tool, if you give her a better tool, kids are smart. They're going to use it. But you got to give them a tool that they can use, they can access, and it works for them. We
Mm.
can't just say, hey, be respectful and stop,
Mhm.
because that doesn't work for him, right? What does he want? He wants you to give him a little space and back off. So what we set up for this kiddo was, okay, you do these two tasks, and then you're going to be able to get a break and do whatever you want to for the next 10 minutes.
Mhm.
All he wanted was for mom to back off and leave him alone. And I helped mom to see, you have a strong willed young man right here.
Mhm.
And when you say, do this, do that, do this, do that, that doesn't sit well with his soul. So,
Mhm.
mom, here's a better way. Give him choices. Hey, room needs to get clean, but you're a smart kid. Tell me what you want to do first, second, and third. And how do
Mm.
you want to do that? And
Oh,
so,
that's
kind
good.
of like understanding your child and understanding what we call, or I call, the function of his behavior. Why is my kid trying to block my mouth from speaking and telling me don't talk? Because he wants to have some type of authority.
Mm.
Okay, how can I help him to share authority? No, you cannot have all the authority. That's not the way it works.
Mm.
But I don't have to dominate over you or make you feel like you're dominated over. How can I partner with you, give you what you want, and train you an appropriate way to get that? And so I had moms sit down with her kiddo and say, hey, room's got to get done, right? We all understand that. But how it gets done, let's talk about. Let's negotiate. Oh, okay, I wanted it this way, but I'm going to let you have that one. You can do that. And I mean, like, it went from what I just talked about, plus there was some screaming and yelling on the kids' end, to, by the time I left, hugs and kisses. Wow, my room is all clean. Mommy, take a picture so you can show auntie.
Wow. 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 That's transformation. And I know that mom probably felt like, "Whew."
Like, where are you coming
You gave her the
back?
gold.
And the thing is that I would love to just walk around and, like, oh yeah, I'm the only one that can do that with your kid. But the truth is that a parent can be trained. And what I just taught that mom, the strategy of partnering with your child for authority, giving him choices, letting him negotiate, but it's kind of a forced choice because the room needs to be cleaned,
Mhm.
and giving him what he wants. Okay, you want to have a break from it, you can do this, that, and then you get a break. That's something that now every time she does the room or any other activity, she can take those few principles and work with it
Mhm.
and know
Mhm.
that I have a strong willed child. He's not going to do well. She is not going to do well if they feel like I'm telling them every single thing to do, micromanaging from A to B. And
Mm.
just like the overarching is understanding and respecting the child that you've been blessed with and learning how to teach and train that child. And so there is just literally a few principles. I mean, sometimes I joke with my staff when I train them. I was like, we are paid too much for these handful of principles that we just use over and over and over again. you know? But the thing I love is that it works and it always works. And you can generalize those principles onto doing homework, onto being an activity your kid doesn't prefer, onto, cleaning up their room, onto bigger things when they get older, getting a job, keeping a job, listening to my boss, you
Mm.
know?
Girl, you just freed me. You just freed me because I just had that conversation this morning, and I just as I'm listening to you and some of the other experts that I've been talking to, I'm seeing so many areas that are errors in my ways, right? Because I'm micromanaging. Okay, pick this up now, pick that up now, and that's too much energy.
It is.
That's too much energy. None of us should be in that position. I'll be the first one to say we need a support group.
I'm,
Right?
I'm signing.
um, but
Yeah.
you said something that that I wanted to highlight. You said we train them, and I think as moms sometimes we forget that that's part of our job. That's
Hmm.
training them to be able to live in life, teaching them the right way to do all the stuff so that they know the way and that they can do the way without you. Like as
Hmm.
early as possible. That's our goal. Get them independent because that
Yes.
feeds their spirit. So talk more
Yes.
about how important it is or just what you would want to say to moms about the idea of training and what that might look like.
So, one, you want to model, right? And I just draw on so many actual experiences I've had. And so this poor mom, she's going to watch this and be like, oh my gosh, that's me. But one of the things that I told that mom is I asked her, this was my first time ever meeting her. And I said, hey, so do you sometimes get frustrated and yell? And she's like, yeah. And so our first thing as parents, and this when you see your little babies and they start doing stuff you're doing and saying stuff you're saying, whether you want them to or not, they're
Mhm.
always looking towards us for guidance on how should I behave, what should I say, what should I do, how do I respond. And so first, if we have some issues, we need to be mindful of thinking about those and working on those, right? And so, not that you have to be perfect. The other balance to that, you might not like to hear this, mamas, but the other balance to that is when you miss it and you don't want your kiddo to do what you did, you go to them and you let them know, mommy shouldn't have yelled. I'm sorry. I get frustrated sometimes. And I want to work on, and I am working on using my better inside voice and explaining things to you instead of yelling. Because if we yell because we're mama and we don't want them to yell back at us, they don't understand that. They
Mhm.
understand you're upset, you yell. So guess what? I get upset at you sometimes too. So I yell. And like I said, don't box yourself into, okay, well, I got to be perfect before I train my child or discipline them. No, but when you do miss the mark and you do something you don't want them to see, and you don't want them to do, you need to humbly go to them and apologize. And that's also training your child humility and that
Mhm.
it's okay to not be perfect. And when you're not perfect and you've hurt someone, this is what you do. And so training, I think, definitely starts with what we do and how we live out our life in front of our kids. And then the next part is being very clear with our children about what we want them to do, what we don't want them to do, what the expectation is, and what the contingencies are, right? So if we want our kid to behave a certain way, we one have to teach them how to do that. We can't just say something like be respectful. Kid does not know what that means.
Mhm.
And so they might actually think they're being respectful. We might need to make some rules and say, okay, let's sit down together. So one of the things I really, really love to do is I love to partner with the kids, even if they're, 5 years old, 7 years old, 16 years old. Partner with your child. Don't ever just come to your kid and say, okay, you're going to do this, that, 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 that. These are the house rules. Right now, of course, you'll have in your head what the rules are, but you want to sit down. Hey, let's sit down together. We're going to make rules about what being respectful looks like. What do you think that means? Well, I think it means, that you're not going to use an outside voice. You're going to use a calm inside voice with me. You're going to, use words that are kind and not mean. So for example, I train my kids. I remember them being very little, and my daughter would get this look with me. And I would be like, she's 3, 4 years old. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh, it's burning through me. And I was like, no, 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 we're not having that.
Mhm.
But I couldn't just say, Rebecca, don't look at me like that. No, that is not okay. because I had to be respectful of what is she trying to communicate? She's trying to communicate, mommy, I'm upset with what you said. I don't like what you said. I'm angry, right? And so when I did say, hey, don't look at me like that, that's not okay. I had to at the same time tell her, what can you do? How can you express that to me? What is
Mm.
okay and acceptable? If you are upset with mommy, you can tell me, mommy, I'm mad because I don't like this or I don't like that.
Mhm.
I used to think it only happened in movies, right? Where the kid yells, I hate you, slams the door. But the day my kid did that, I was like, oh no,
Right.
no, because one, it hurt my feelings, and two, I was like,
Right.
that is
What
disrespectful.
do you mean you hate me?
But mostly it hurt
You know
my
what
feelings
I've done?
because
Sacrifice for you? 27 hours in labor?
you're gonna tell me you hate me.
Right.
It hurt. It hurt all kinds of ways. And then it was like, wait. I pay the bills on the door you just slammed.
Right.
And no.
That
Okay.
part.
But again, I had to take myself out of the emotions because if, I don't want to model for her something inappropriate. But come here. Let's talk about this.
Mm.
When you say that, what do you mean? What do you feel? I'm mad because it's not fair and you won't let me. Lower your voice and now say it again. I'm mad because you won't let me and it's not fair and da 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 da. Okay, that is acceptable. You can come
Mm.
to me at any time and say, mommy, I need to talk to you. I'm mad. I don't like this. It's not fair. It makes me feel this way. But no, you're not going to tell me you hate me,
Mm.
and so in my opinion, as a parent, we should never silence our child if they're ever going to tell us something or have some type of expression, even if it's doing something. I mean, I remember once my little one, she took the brush and just whacked her sister. And I was like, I mean,
She
like,
must
for
have
real.
been she must have been talking when she should have been listening, huh?
know. But we don't want to be like, no, you
Right.
never had that emotion, the emotion that drove you to that negative behavior, you shut it out. Because then we have kids that grow up to be adults, as myself, that are now paying thousands of dollars in therapy
Right.
because they pushed it down and shut it in and pushed it down and
Mhm.
shut it in.
Mhm.
Right? We want to give our kids the alternative. I understand you feel this way, and this is a appropriate and better way to express that. This will be heard and tolerated. That, no, that's not happening. That's going to be punished. There's a
Mhm.
consequence for if we willfully aggress towards anybody, right?
Mhm.
Unless you're self-defense. So definitely being so clear with your kids. This is acceptable. This is not acceptable. And when we're figuring out what's acceptable, sit down and partner with your child.
Mm.
If your kid wants to say, I don't like you, and this was going back to that conversation I had with my daughter when, don't look at me like that, right? I didn't want that, but giving her what she needed, she wanted to be able to tell me, mommy, I don't like you right now. No, she wanted to
Mm.
be able to tell me, mommy, I don't like you. That hurt me a little bit too, but I had to be respectful and mindful and accept that she feels like she needs to express that. So we made an adjustment. Mommy, I don't like you right now because da da da.
Mm.
Okay, I didn't feel great about that, right?
Mhm.
But believe me, it's much more acceptable and socially appropriate than I hate you, slam the door, run out.
Right.
And guess what? That doesn't even open doors for communication. Because think about your little baby that's saying that now. When they grow up and they have a best friend at 13, 16, or boyfriend, significant other, and they just yell, I hate you, and walk out the room, that's not going to solve anything. That's
Mm-mm.
not going to open communication. So,
Right.
training your child today, your little one, however little or big they are, knowing that they're going to grow up to be an adult in that real world. And if you're not training them on the right track, you're training them on the track of, I'm going to let you do whatever you want, or I'm going to shut you down and you can't do anything. Is that where you want them to end up when they're
Mm.
adult, and when they're running our world?
Right. Wow. Put that in perspective because truthfully, we get to give them the tools that will help them succeed or fail in life. And they're going to be in the driver's seat when we don't have the, the
Yep.
ability to drive anymore. So just
Yeah.
imagine what we're creating. So, wow, that was interesting. I want to circle back to the mom that is allowing her son or daughter to abuse her and
Mhm.
her allowing herself to be in that position. I've been there, and I've
Mhm.
seen moms who will, instead of bringing down a heavy hand, or instead of yelling, or instead of doing whatever needs to be done to set a boundary in that space, through her own unworthiness, through her own inadequacy, through her own mommy guilt and shame, or whatever the stuff is
Mhm.
that's underneath, that prevents her from having authority in her own station in that moment. Um, it speaks to the fact that
Mhm.
there's a level of healing that moms get to take authority over, and to walk in, take responsibility for, honestly,
Mhm.
because it's your
Mhm.
woundedness that's not allowing you to parent your child effectively.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
talk to me about what you've noticed where that's concerned.
So, I have this ABC method to behavior change, right? And so it includes the four functions of behavior, meaning that an individual is only going to have some type of behavior, any behavior, good or bad, for four different reasons, right? That works with our kids. That is the magic of what I do. That is how, after an hour and a half, 2 hours, I get a kid from having aggression, yelling and screaming, to cleaning his room. Okay, mom, what's next, right? Guess what? That same method works on us individually. So
Mm,
that mother, I'm going to say this first, that mother needs to identify, when is my kid off the rails or not? Because just like that mom I was talking about yesterday, she told me, she's like, it didn't even register on me that he was in my space and doing this and doing that, because it's so normal to me.
mm,
Right. And the advice I gave that mom, and I will give any mom, is at any stage, that you have a child, think about, okay, my kiddo's having an emotion. If they displayed this emotion with a teacher, with a stranger, with my pastor, would I feel okay with that? However they're behaving towards you. Let's just say it's at Sunday school, minister walks in and your child now starts behaving with the minister the way he did. I see your eyes, right? You're like,
girl.
oh, wait, hold on. Why? Because the minister deserves respect. The teacher deserves respect. The stranger that my kid meets at the park deserves respect. Guess what? You deserve respect. And you are the first authority figure that your child is interacting with. And if you allow him to, if you allow her to not show you that respect or behave in a certain way in your presence, they're going to think it's okay across the board,
Mm,
and so I love that you kind of said, taking responsibility, right? The parent needs to take responsibility, that you've been, just like you would, your kiddo gets too close to the fire, what are you going to do?
mhm,
You're going to rescue them, stop them, block them, train them, because you know how dangerous that is. We need to understand these small behaviors become habits for our kid, and it is literally unkind for us to allow that habit to take root and grow, because somebody in the world is going to put their foot down, and it's going to be really hard for your child to understand that, but the person who loved me most, this is how I behave with them.
mm,
So taking that inward look, first identifying, when is my child off the rails? Like, because like, the bond we have with our kids is so beautiful.
mhm.
Like, we feel them, we know them, they feel us, they know all our buttons to push, right? We
Right.
know just by a look, they're not feeling well, they're going to be sick in 2 days, they're having
Right.
a great, like, we know that, right? So sometimes we're so attuned with our kiddo, we don't realize what's normal and not normal, what's okay and not okay, right? And please don't look on social media, because you're
Right.
going to feel like you're doing everything wrong, you
Right.
know?
Right.
But like I said, have your own standard of, if my child was doing this with a stranger, would that be okay? And if the answer is no, now you understand, okay, this needs to change. Now, when you think about, like you said, putting your foot down or whatever that discipline is, if you now start to feel very uncomfortable, very anxious, very punished by the thought of even doing what you know you need to do, you need to think about, what is the function of my behavior? Why? Why do I not want to take my child's privileges away when they just had this, bad behavior they know better than? What does that do to me? Do I feel like I'm, going to lose their affection and their attention? Is that a deficit within me that maybe I'm inaccurately putting on my kid and now trying to make their world the happiest so that they fulfill me in that way? Is it? So sometimes, and I'm going to be honest, I've been guilty of this. I'll just kind of know my kids are doing something, turn the other way, because, man, I'm dealing with them. trying to escape. I'm
Mhm.
working all day. I'm tired. If I don't see that they didn't clean the room, I don't have to
Mhm.
be on top of them and I get to have a little
Mhm.
bit of a break, you know? And then
Mhm.
thinking about, am I managing the rest of my life in a way that gives me the time and energy I need to spend with my kids? Or am I kind
Mm.
of stealing that away from them a little bit, right? Because I am responsible to train them the way they're supposed to be trained, you know? And so looking to yourself to have an understanding, just like I said, a respectful understanding about your child and why they're engaging in that behavior. But also when we notice in ourselves that we're doing something that we shouldn't be doing, we don't want to do, we're not proud of,
Mhm.
thinking about, okay, I am going to be respectful and mindful to myself, kind to myself, and understand there's a reason behind this. I'm not
Mhm.
just being a bad mom. I'm not just being lazy or negligent or whatever. The fact that you're even here watching this and,
Mhm.
looking for resources to strengthen and empower and build yourself as a mother, right, means that you really want to. You really want to try,
Mhm.
But like you said, sometimes we have some broken things in us that it's just easier to push under the carpet.
Mhm.
And who suffers for that?
Right.
We suffer, but we're used to our suffering, but our kids suffer.
Yeah. As you were saying that, I was thinking about the mom that's numb.
Mm,
The
escape.
mom that's numb, and that woman that was experiencing that was probably numb. It's happening so
Mhm.
much, and it's probably not just that child, it's probably coming from other places too, and she's used to being in that space and
Mm.
she's turned it all off.
Yep.
And that's the mom that we want to reach into and just remind her of what's on the inside of her. Remind you,
Yeah.
mom, that God put something powerful in you and he made you a mom for a reason. And you get to shake that off. You get to heal it. You get to restore and be rebuilt and be
Mhm.
renewed so that you can stand in your motherhood and be who your child needs you to be. Abuse will do that.
Mhm.
Dealing with physical, financial, emotional, relational, narcissistic abuse will do that to you. It numbs your entire being. And so we've got there's a lot of people who are dealing with that. I'm one of them. And it makes it where it's very difficult for you to even feel the stuff you're supposed to feel when someone crosses your boundary.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
heart healing is important. And I'm sure that that's something that you've dealt with as well. Um,
Mhm.
so, but I don't want to go into
Yeah.
that. What the last thing I want to talk to you about is special needs. What do special needs moms need to know about guiding their special needs children's behavior?
So it's pretty much the same, just a little tougher.
Okay.
One thing I would definitely say for special needs is you need a community. You need other mothers that can relate to you.
Hmm.
You need people that are going to understand the struggles of like you being a mom of a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, and they pooped in the potty and you're over the moon, and not have only friends that are like, oh, my kid's been potty trained since 2, right? So
Hmm.
you definitely need community. And you need that behaviorally, right? That type of behavior support, because a lot of times our special needs kiddos, they're developing at a different rate, especially their communication and their social skills. And I'm going to go back to the community. So, like, I remember when my daughter told me for the first time she loved me and hugged me, and she was probably about 2. And even though I'm almost going to cry, even though at that time I had been working with special needs kids for, I don't know, at least 10, 15 years, it was in that moment. I remember the tiny little place we lived in, and it was on the couch, and she came up and she put both her arms around my neck and said, Mommy, I love you.
Hmm.
And I started crying, not because of that, but because I, at that moment, realized that so many special needs parents don't ever hear that from their kid.
Hmm.
And that doesn't mean that they don't feel it. And that doesn't mean that they don't love you. It just means that you're not able to get that same social connection from your child that the typical parent does. And so you need a friend to walk beside you, friends, a community that's going to tell you your baby loves you. Like,
Hmm.
I see the way that he only has tantrums around you because you're his safe space.
Hmm.
Special needs parents are going to understand this,
I
so
feel
you
good
need
about
that
that.
community because you're not getting the same reciprocal reaction from
Mhm.
your child that is going to give you that reinforcement that no, they understand I'm doing things right. They're not going to write you those little notes sometimes that just, mommy, I love you for everything you do for me at
Mm.
5 years old. So having that community, because it is so easy to fall into this place of shame, thinking that there's something wrong that you did to cause that. You
Mm.
did not. You did not. And I tell special needs parents not to diminish parents of neurotypical kids, but I tell special needs mamas, you are doing the absolute most. Like, I could never do and understand everything you have to go through because you have your child that sometimes isn't really reinforcing you socially,
Mhm.
and then you have schools that you have to deal with. You have idiots at Target and Walmart that are looking
Mhm.
at you as a bad parent just because your kid is having behavior, and you still have to walk through, be strong, and show up for your child.
Mm.
Have that community. I create that. That's another reason why I started my own company, is so I can create that community for parents and not just work on the kid. Behaviorally speaking, it is tough, and your kid needs more consistency and clarity because they have a deficit generally. Almost, let's say 90% of the time, they have a deficit in communication, whereas it's not just them expressing how they feel, but them understanding things. We don't want to be super wordy.
Mhm.
If we want them to sit down, we're not going to say, Johnny, I really wish that you would stop standing. Your legs are going to get tired. You know what he heard? Wah, 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 wah. We need
Mm.
to say, Johnny, sit down. So sometimes if we're not doing things in a way that they don't learn. And then we get frustrated because they're not doing what we expect, but they have no idea what we expect. So we have to
Mm.
be super clear about what we want from them. And we have to be super clear about how it's going to work out for them. Because again, the social piece. A lot of times our neurotypical kiddos are like, I like seeing mommy smile. Some of
Mm.
our special needs, like especially autism, that's my area of specialty, they don't even look at our faces. So how do they know when we smiled? And if we smile, it means nothing to them. And so we need to make it very clear. Johnny, I need you to sit down, or else I will not turn on the TV. And now you got his attention. And now he sits down, and now we go over and give him that smile. I'm so happy you sat down. And we smile and we turn on the TV. And that's what we call conditioning. Now we're helping his deficit, his social deficit of, I don't really know or care if you smile. But now when we pair our smile with I'm turning on TV, he's like, ooh, that kind of felt nice. I
Mm.
got what I wanted. Oh, and that thing on your face, that's a good thing, right?
Wow.
So we have to just break down our what we're doing to be very clear and bring it to the place that our child can understand. And don't worry, they're not going to always be there. We're not going to always have to be like this, but we got to start with where they're at. We can't want them to get here and they're down here and we start up here, right? We got to start with where they're at and very gently push and move forward. The good thing that I always tell parents of special needs or developmentally delayed, intellectual delayed, is I tell them, you know what? Your kid is moving forward. And as long as you're pushing forward, they're going to move forward. They might be behind their chronological age peers, but by the time they're 25, 30, we're all in the same place anyways.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, they're going
Mhm.
to get there. We just have to bring it to where they're at. There's a lot of adjustments that parents of special needs kiddos need to make within themselves so that their kids can now access that learning and the enrichment in their environment.
Wow. I could listen to you all day.
You're so kind.
I could
I
because
could
I'm
probably talk
learning
all day.
and I wanna be over here taking notes, but I just decided I'm just gonna absorb it. It's so rich and I'm so grateful. Now, how can our audience learn more about you? Where can they go to
That
find
is a
you?
great question. They can come on to my website. And I'm actually working on a project right now, which is an anti-bullying project, which is a whole nother number of hours I could talk about. But I'm always doing things for the community, especially special needs community, but all of the community, it works for me. And so they can come onto my site. I have some trainings. I have some mini trainings, mini courses. I have some visuals because I'm really big on checklists and how to's. And just like I said with the kiddo, right? If I want you as a parent to change your behavior, I can't just say, hey, knock it off, stop. I got to train you and tell you. So I like to make these little videos, 5, 12 minutes. sometimes longer, that are going to attack a specific issue. One I have right now is routines, understanding the functions so that we can understand why our kid is behaving that way and what other tools we can give them. And then I like to have some giveaways with that, so something that's going to be a visual reminder and a visual guide for you to kind of go along and adjust your behavior. And now we can see our kiddos' behaviors adjust.
Wonderful. Well, I am so grateful that God crossed our paths. You've been a blessing to me and my family, and I'm continuing to learn, and I look forward to learning more. We just might have to have you back to have a conversation about bullying. So maybe we'll do that too. So thank you so much, Chelsea DeSilva from mybehaviorguidance.com. We are excited to have you here, and thank you again. If there's any parting words that you want to share with the moms, please do.
Um, you can do it. You got this. And something I heard a Bible study or two ago, God made you the mother that your child needs. You might think that you have all these deficits, that you're doing it wrong, that you should be like somebody else. No, you be you, but you be your best version of you, because God made you for your child and you have everything that it takes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was brilliant. I love it and I receive it. I
Yes,
hope that
ma'am.
blessed all of you. If you all have any questions for Chelsea De Silva, make sure you leave them in the comments. We're going to be having a roundtable with the speakers later on in the month, and we would love to invite her back so you'll be able to ask her questions live and in person via Zoom. We
Love it.
look forward to that. And so thanks again for joining us today for the Empowering Girl Mom Show. I'm your host, Queenie Brown, and I will see you again tomorrow. Take good care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wow, today's conversation was a bit deep, and honestly, I needed to hear it today myself. So I just wanted to remind you that when we begin our heart healing, when we decide to turn that mirror around and focus on the broken parts inside of us, the parts that have been wounded, the parts that we are holding, maybe some resentment or unforgiveness, or maybe there are parts that you've never even acknowledged, or wounds that you just kind of tucked under the rug. We've talked about that before, right? As moms, many of us don't have time to do heart healing. And honestly, we are the very first generation to even begin to think about healing our hearts, to think about going into therapy or getting coaching or getting support in the areas where we need the support. And the truth is, moms, we get to have support. And so I felt led over the last couple of weeks and months to put together a beautiful program. It's called the Mother Love Immersion. It is a 6-week heart healing online retreat for moms. And it's designed to take us under that rug and just to begin that heart healing process in a safe, loving container where we can together journey through the pain, but not with the intention to stay there. The intent is for us to go there so we can heal from it. I have learned in my own journey that sometimes you got to feel it in order to heal it. And so if you have not allowed yourself to feel the pain of whatever it is that you went through, and you've not allowed yourself to really just go there, it's time, because if you don't, it'll continue to bleed into your relationship with your children. It'll bleed into your relationship with money, with your love relationship. It bleeds into every part of your life. And so we have to decide to begin our heart healing journey. And this mother love immersion is a light introduction. It's not going to be a deep dive, because a lot of us have wounds that have just been there for so long. And the intent, again, is for us to learn how to process through it. And so I want to invite you, if you are ready to begin your heart healing journey, to put "I'm ready" in the comments. And I would love to have a conversation with you to talk to you about the Mother Love Immersion and what it can do for you and how it can transform you. And let this summer be the last summer that you carry the baggage. Let this be the last summer that you go without learning how to walk through your own heart healing process. And let this be the summer that you learn the skills to be able to support your daughter or daughters in healing their own hearts, because they're watching us, moms. They're seeing how we deal with life. They're watching us tuck things under the rug when we've been violated or mistreated or spoken to in a way that was inappropriate, or even on the job. We tend to take things in as women, and we don't know how to push them back out. So let me help you walk through that journey, and we can do it together. Again, I'm ready in the comments, and I will be happy to share with you more about the Mother Love Immersion, which again is a 6 week heart healing online retreat for moms. And it's, of course, not just open to moms, but if you're a woman and you're not a mom yet, you definitely are still welcome. But specifically, I want to target moms because what we're doing inside of motherhood is a reflection of the pain that we're carrying inside of our own hearts. So we get to heal that. We get to walk through that process, learn a new skill set, and be able to model and share that with our daughters. All right. So if you're ready to begin your own heart healing journey, put I'm ready in the comments, and I'll be sure to let you know more about the Mother Love Immersion. Okay. All right. Y'all be blessed. Thank you so very much. Yes, you get to process and learn how to move through your healing. It is the most important lesson and skill set that you can learn because it's really when you really think about it, our mother line, the wounds that your grandmother carried, she passed on to your mom even if she didn't want to. Epigenetically, your mom was in her mother's womb when her mother was dealing with whatever trauma that she went through, and likewise you were in your mother's womb when your mom was in the womb. Think about that. When we're born, we have all the eggs we'll ever carry. And so oftentimes we are carrying the woundedness from the past generations. So let's be deliberate about making sure that our next generation doesn't get that from us. And if they do, let's learn how to unravel it so that they'll know how to do that for their next generation as well. This is deep heart healing work, ladies, moms, and it's necessary for us to be able to up level and be who we've been called to be. So I'm grateful that you joined us. Thank you so much. Again, go to www.empoweringgirlmoms.com to learn more about this show. Catch all the replays. We're going to be replaying a lot of the interviews this week because they were so impactful. And in case you missed it, we want to give you one last opportunity to catch them. All right. Thank you so much again for joining. I'm Queenie Brown, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. You be blessed and take good care. Bye bye.